inviting you into the room with us as we break down and analyze what the hell's going on here in politics. What's happening with Trump? What's going on with DeSantis? What's happening with the Democrats? We are going to bring you in with us, and we want you to interact with us as well. So here on resolutesquare.com, this is a unique function where you can click on the banner and you can join the conversation. But if you're watching us on another platform, go to the website, resolutesquare.com, subscribe, and then you can interact with the comments. So welcome everyone to our second strategy call of the week. And you see our wonderful strategists here with us, the Rick Wilson, Stuart Stevens, Joe Trippi, and Reed Galen. And before we get started, because we're definitely talking the Trump announcement, we're definitely talking about Ron DeSantis, and we're going to be talking also about the Biden administration's response to everything this week. I want to remind folks and introduce you to Resolute Square. Take a look.
They've been winning for years.
I'm very proud of them.
Decades. The right-wing media machine. They play by different rules. Alternative facts become America's reality. They lie for money, for power. They lie because they know they can get away with it. Ready to fight back? We took on Trump and defeated him. Now we need to take on the MAGA media. We need a powerful media voice dedicated to crushing the enemies of democracy. And now it's here. Resolute Square. Resolute Square is a growing community of creators, thinkers, strategists, and activists with one mission: to defend democracy. We're not a news organization. The old media models are failing. Resolute Square refuses to tell both sides of a lie. We proudly declare a fierce, relentless bias for democracy. All bias, all the time. We're not here to debate the people who will destroy democracy. We know we're right, and they are wrong. We are here to win. This is what we believe. We must take the fight beyond the ballot box to where the autocrats are winning, the media landscape of America. At Resolute Square, we will get up every morning to defeat the dangerous MAGA media. We will speak truth to their lies. We're not billionaire extremists. We're Americans, and we will fight. If we join together, we will win. We will not let a corrupt minority steal what it means to be an American. We will fight for the heart and soul of this country. We can do this. We must do this. Together. Resolute Square. Join us.
Yeah, and we are back with our strategists tonight. Rick Wilson, former Republican strategist, co-founder of the Lincoln Project. And everyone knows him for his ads because they live inside Trump's head rent-free and have done so for the last several years. Stuart Stevens, another former Republican strategist, senior advisor to Lincoln Project. And he just doesn't watch the GOP machine. He helped build it, so he knows a little something about them. Reed Galen, former Republican strategist and co-founder of the Lincoln Project. He's hung out with the Bushes and worked advance for them, been in the Bush White House. And Joe Trippi, he's been described as the man who reinvented campaigning, and he's our lone Democrat still on the panel here with us, and a senior advisor to the Lincoln Project. For those who are new and don't know who you guys are, I took it for granted last show that everybody knows you guys, but not everybody knows you. So welcome. And we started off with introducing Resolute Square because it's our new platform, it's our new thing. And Rick, I wanted to give you an opportunity to explain to everyone quickly, just before we get into everything, why Resolute Square and why now?
Sure. Well, welcome, folks. Glad you joined us tonight. We are looking for something that will help this fight for the American Republic and to preserve American democracy that goes beyond what a super PAC can do, that goes beyond what a traditional political organization can do. We looked out there in the landscape, and no matter what the highs and lows of the Republican Party are, they're always backed up by a billionaire-funded, gigantic media apparatus that there's nothing to rival it. There is nothing out there that's taking the side of democracy with a fierce bias for American values and American democracy every single day. There's nothing out there like it. Now, unfortunately, we're not billionaires, but we are trying to build something that will provide people with a way to learn how to fight this extremist and authoritarian movement, that will give people the skills and the knowledge and the insight and the abilities to go out there and punch harder and reach further and do more in the fight to save this country. So that's why we're building Resolute Square with a team of really smart professionals who know how to do all the technical parts of it and all the news making parts of it and all the content parts of it. It is the home of my new podcast, The Enemies List. It is the home of the Trippi Show, that Joe's podcast. We're going to be adding more podcasts and more streaming shows as we go. And it's also home to what I call the Anti-Saliza newsletter. We have a newsletter that's going to be hitting people's email during the week. And it is going to be something that is so not the conventional wisdom. We're going to peel back the curtain and explain to you how the machine works, how things are, why things are happening, not just that things are happening. So right. Resolute Square is a big experiment. We're looking forward to having you join us for this ride. And thanks to everybody who's saddled up already.
That's right. And when you sign up, there are different memberships, and we're an exclusive content if you become a member as we continue to build this. So resolutesquare.com. And if you want to get into the conversation, because we will be doing that, we want the interaction from you guys. That's also what makes this different and unique. So make sure you send in your questions, and in the next block, we will get to some of them and get a chance to have the guys answer that. So now that all that housekeeping is out of the way, let's get into the Trump announcement. There's been a lot of fallout from this, and it's been very fascinating. Rick and I were talking about this over at the breakdown earlier tonight, and it really is fascinating to watch this announcement compared to the last couple of announcements for Trump. Very low energy, very halting almost, because he was reading. The whole thing was just very odd. Not very normal Trump. And I wanted to ask you guys what you thought. And, it's kind of like one of those things where, okay, he made the announcement, everybody was watching sort of, kind of, but then the fallout from it, the right-wing media wasn't doing the rah-rah. Joe, do you think they miscalculated on this? Do you think that the Trump campaign just completely miscalculated this whole thing?
Look, I think the Trump campaign, you can't get in. Well, Rick might be a better one to answer that, because he can get inside what the thinking is in Trump world better than I ever can. But I think that anytime you put a candidate who is spontaneous, I had this with Howard Dean, and you try to put him on try to put someone like Howard Dean on a prompter, and it just totally flattens him out. I just think that's what the miscalculation, I think. Although, again, the problem is, if you don't put Trump on a prompter, he's going to go all over the place, which he eventually did anyway. So I think that was the miscalculation. I mean, there were lots of miscalculations, but the biggest one was thinking you could put him on a prompter, one, that would work, that it wouldn't make him be flat, and then two, on top of it, that he wouldn't go off into the weeds and off kilter anyway. So I think it was all
in the last 40 years, the only person who can really make a teleprompter look natural is Ronald Reagan, right? Mm-hmm. Because he sort of had that tilted head, and he'd been doing it for 50 years by the time he got to the presidency.
Yeah. That's right. And I think that, people forget that part of Trump's secret sauce is the show, the stand-up shtick that he does. Rick and I were just talking about that. And that's where he gets his power. And the audience is into it. It's literally like you're at a show. But they weren't that into it. We saw this.
Yeah, look, Trump reading a professional speech off a teleprompter.
No, Stephen Miller wrote it, so I'm loath to call it professional.
Right.
This is true. The rivers of blood, or what was it? Avenues of blood or something?
I think, or alleyways of blood. Yeah, there was blood, definitely, though.
That was also the title of Stephen Miller's college horror film, his amateur horror film he produced, Alleyways of Blood with Stephen Miller.
Oh my gosh. But the thing about this too, though, is like, Fox News said that they weren't going to cover it live, and then guess what happened? They ended up covering it live. We saw some of Murdoch Land's attempt to distance themselves from Trump, making fun of him almost. In the New York Post the next day, Trump was not on the front page. It said, "Florida man makes announcement," page 26. It was the ultimate troll. There it is. That is the ultimate shade thrown against Donald Trump there, and really a dig at him in his hometown paper. Rick, what do you think? What is Murdoch doing here? I mean, does Trump really even need Fox at this point now?
Look, I got to tell you, everybody's had this sort of sense of like, oh, Murdoch's gone to war with Trump in the Post. Some real talk here. Nobody reads the Post in America. People read it in New York. Trump reads it. He's playing with Trump directly, but the New York Post doesn't set the agenda for any MAGA Republican out there in the world, in a state that counts, especially in an early primary state. They just don't see it or know about it. You know, this is the thing, that there's a presumption of perfect knowledge on the part of a lot of media people. Like, oh, well, everyone knows that Rupert in the Wall Street Journal made them write an op-ed. No one knows shit about shit. These voters out there, these MAGA voters out there, were definitionally low information voters, and a lot of them still are. They receive their information in very narrow silos from Facebook and weird ass websites and Discord servers and Telegram channels. Now, they have stepped away from Rupert's kind of media channel. And frankly, there's already been a flight to the shittier, the Gresham's law effect of bad information drives out good. So a lot of the hardcores are like, I don't even trust Fox, those liberal cuck shills. I'm going over to OAN.
Well, if they can find it, because OAN has been deplatformed in a lot of places, and because it's just a straight up propaganda trash place. But to your point, Rick, you also said that Murdoch is doing something, using a familiar tactic.
Yeah, he's stealing the audience of one strategy from us. He's trying to play Trump's brain directly because he knows Trump does read the Post every day. He knows Trump does have someone who will read the Wall Street Journal to him because he can't handle the big words in small print. But Rupert's trying to play with Trump directly. But I don't think Trump is scared of him, right, Reed? I mean, that's the point you made. It's like, Trump's not scared of Fox.
No. I mean, he's got a pretty good idea that once you back down, you're likely to back down again. And I think that's what he sees with the Fox guys, which is Rupert and Lachlan are ultimately going to chase views. And, for argument's sake, if Trump clears the field, if all these other guys decide to sit it out, he's the only ball game in town, they'll cover it all. They have to.
Of course they will.
Their people will, because here's what will happen. And I saw this, with some of my friends and family members in 2020 who none of them really wanted Trump back. But and I think in another world, they probably would have been fine with a Joe Biden. But as soon as it became a binary choice, Trump was the only one they had. And Joe Biden was a Marxist pinko, commie.
Right.
And so like, we shouldn't assume that just because, Rupert's showing some backbone now, right? Like that's going to continue 9, 6, 12 months from now.
But let me ask you this. Let me ask you guys this, though. And as strategists who know the importance of raising money on a campaign, and Joe, you kind of revolutionized some of this too. But
blame him for the emails.
Yeah.
Emails are Joe's fault, everybody.
Right. Yes, but
you can match 12 billion%.
Right.
Well, it seemed like a really good idea at the time when we started it. Yeah.
And now, you know what? The other night, I don't know how the hell they got my phone number, but I got a Trump text email, a fundraising solicitation right after the speech. Yeah. How the hell they get my number? I haven't been a Republican for a couple years now, so I don't know.
I think they just troll us all the time anyway.
They must. But anyway, my question though is about the donors, because now we see what's happening with the right wing media, mainstream media, or the gentry media, as Rick likes to call them, trying to distance themselves from Trump, and National Review saying no, and okay, I'll believe it when they do this like 6 months or a year from now. But the donors now, you've got some very large, deep-pocketed billionaires who supported Trump in the past saying, I'm out this time. I'm out. I'm backing DeSantis. Joe, do you think that he can still, he needs these people or no?
No. Look, I think a lot of this is going to fragment, but like when you go back, first of all, when you go back to what Fox is doing, right? Even if DeSantis and Trump break up and split the MAGA, cult out there, then Fox is going to have the problem of 40% of its audience walks away with Trump to somewhere else, right? As Reed was pointing out, they just go to another place. The same thing with the billionaires. I don't think he needs them because the MAGA cult will continue to fall for. Look, they just keep
small dollars,
but
right?
even
the small
dollar thing. And again, same thing. Even if DeSantis or somebody breaks into that and takes and splits it up, it's just going to magnify the division and fight that happens throughout this year and next. And I think we get back to, I think it was Rick who said this in the past. Even if DeSantis or Fox beat, can pull away and defeat Trump, we're going to go into, if I can't have her, you can't have her. Mm-hmm. And Trump is going to do everything he can to make sure DeSantis doesn't, and that his people never watch Fox again. I mean, this is it's the same way he held the party hostage all this time and converted it to his party. And it's going to happen the same way. That's why they all go back. They're all going to go back.
No, look, it's
a political murder-suicide pact.
Yeah, it's the scorpion and the toad, right? The toad lies, why did you do that? He's like, it's in my nature, right?
That's
like,
right.
That's how it happens.
Or the
snake.
But
I think the other part about the money, though, too, is that think about back to 2016 and even 2020, and even now, Trump dominates the free media space, dominates it. Right. If you go to your New York Times app on your phone, and you go and the first thing it says, like, popular stories, you look across the top, and let's say there's 6, 3 or 4 of them have to do with Trump. Now, it might be 2 about him politically, 1 about him getting sued, 1 about Jared taking $2 billion from the South. The point is like, he will get billions and billions of dollars worth of free media, as he has before. And as Joe knows, and as Rick knows, that's the difference between so many of these campaigns. Is you get to Iowa, right, in the caucuses, and you're out of money, right? But if you win, what does it do? It gets you all the free media, and the money starts rolling back in again. You get to New Hampshire, right? And so he doesn't have to do that. And the other part too is, they tried to run a quote unquote normal campaign in 2020, and it was a mistake. And I think they've recognized that with like Susie Wiles and Chris LaCivita, like, this is just going to be whatever it's going to be. And I think they've sort of made their peace with that. Every other person, they've got campaign manager, deputy campaign managers, communications directors, dozens of people, this and that, and this and that, all the people, 99 people in Iowa and everything else. And before you know it, you're up to $3 million a month, and you got 12 months to the caucus. Like, Trump doesn't need any of that.
Trump starts with the world. He's going to go, look, this is a war of attrition for him. He's happy with 35%. And
he'll win with
running
35%.
Everybody else into the ground like he did last time.
That's what he did in 2016.
Yeah. So he doesn't. I think that look, all these people who think he's done or just smoking something. It's not gonna go down that way.
And Rick, you started.
And the other thing I think though is that the real thing here is it goes to what sort of, I think, again, should be being exposed here is how Fox is clearly, and the Post is a propaganda machine. The fact that they immediately went from red wave, Trump can do no wrong, and they were doing a little pullback. But now all of a sudden, what red wave? Florida man, we don't know him.
We're used to this, though.
Give me a break.
Right? We're used to this. Yeah. Rick, you started to say something.
That's what we have to expose every day, because that's what it's what drives the way the coverage is, even in the rest of the media. He's got that whole propaganda machine, and he knows how to use it, tap into it, leverage it.
Right.
And they'll come right back, and he'll be right there. And if it's not them, it'll be Newsmax or some Breitbart. All the other things, and he'll leverage it. He won't need the money because it's an outrage machine that will work for him. If it's not working for him and it's working for DeSantis, it's just Trump Jr. It's just another.
My camera has got a mind of its own. This is live TV, folks.
Live.
Rick,
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Rick,
I had a question.
Hold on one second. Rick, make your point, and then we're going to go to taking some of the questions from our viewers, just so that you know. Go for it.
Before we do that, what do you guys? I mean, look, I think the DeSantis bubble is already on the downslope this week, because it was always an impossible to sustain thing. You can't keep attention on DeSantis without forming a committee that's real, without going out and doing a federal committee, and raise the amount of money that he raised as governor. You can't, and a lot of that money is not.
We can't
fungible.
do that anyway.
Right.
Right.
So the money raises governor is not fungible. It can't move that to the federal side for the most part.
Yes, that's right.
And my question to you guys is, given the current givens, how long do you think, first off, DeSantis can wait to make a move? And how long do you think all the other pilot fish can wait to make a move? Because you got Pompeo and all the other.
Hold on. Before you guys answer that, because we have I want to take some audience questions first, because I want to make sure we get a good enough some time to talk DeSantis. Okay. So let's throw up a couple of audience questions first before we talk DeSantis, because that's going to be good. First up, how will DeSantis versus Trump impact the DOJ investigations?
It won't.
Reed.
It won't.
They shouldn't.
It won't.
Why not? Why not?
I think that Merrick Garland's half pregnant on this indictment. He's going to have to do it sooner than later.
Yeah.
There's no really such thing as half pregnant, which is probably your point. Yeah. You can't be half pregnant. He's pregnant with it, and the baby's coming. So
right.
that's a more appropriate metaphor.
There's no way that fight has anything to do with what the DOJ is going to do. They're going to do it.
They're going to do what they do.
I'm with
yes or no.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Next question. Okay, Michael, how can we weaponize social media against Trump? Rick?
Reed had an answer. Reed was about
Reed.
You got to do it all day, every day. And I think this is the one we talked about this a little bit on Tuesday. And this is, I think, the one thing that again, it's harder for larger, more bloated, more bureaucratic or bureaucratized organizations to do is, the old General Zapp, right? You got to grab him by the belt buckle, and you got to stay in his face all day, every day. It's exhausting.
We took a lot of criticism for that because we up in his grill every day, all the time.
Yep.
And people are like, why aren't you talking about policy? No, because the purpose here is to kick the shit out of him all the time. So he's not focused on Biden. So he's not doing the right things for his campaign. Social media is, and God knows what's going on with Twitter tonight. Who the knows?
I know.
But we've got a situation where social media has democratized the playing field, where he does notice. I mean, believe me, Trump's a read the replies guy. Okay, he is a read the comments guy.
He used to respond. I mean, that's why he created Truth Social, so that he could be in his own kingdom of thumbs.
I'm frankly shocked he's not back. I'm frankly shocked that Elon hasn't put him back on Twitter already.
Oh, I can't imagine it's not coming any minute now.
Yeah.
I predicted it would already be here, but the apocalypse was delayed for a little while. But
he's got to get back here while Twitter's still here.
I think Elon may look for stunt casting, and there you go with Donnie.
Well, who knows what's in Elon Musk's mind either. I want to remind folks that if you want to get in on the conversation, go to resolutesquare.com and subscribe. Make sure you subscribe so that you can keep watching shows like this and the new content coming along. And before we get into DeSantis, we were talking about being nimble, right? Reed, you said you have to be nimble, you have to be quick, you have to be able to react. And Lincoln Project was one of the first, actually, I think the first to be out there with an ad saying, okay, people, he's back, be prepared. And that's what you need to do. And I saw something that it was noticeable to me, what the Biden administration did was they contemporaneously put out their own video on social media, hitting back against Trump, reminding people what life was like under Donald Trump. And I thought that was an excellent way to stay on offense, because we preach that all the time. I say defense may win championships in football, but offense wins elections. I want to show the clip and then have you guys react. This is what Biden put out.
Nobody has ever done what we've done in the last 4 years.
Their entire economic plan, tax cuts for the rich and corporations.
And record-breaking unemployment.
The worst jobs report on record.
Trump is the only modern president to leave office with fewer jobs than when he took office.
The Trump administration formally asking the Supreme Court to overturn the Affordable Care Act. This could leave up to 23 million Americans without coverage.
I hope that they end. It'll be so good if they end.
You also had people that were very fine people on both sides.
Do you believe in punishment for abortion? Yes or no?
There has to be some form of punishment.
For the woman?
Yeah, there has to be some form.
And if I win, we will treat those people from January 6th fairly. And if it requires pardons, we will give them pardons.
Yes, to the Biden folks punching back. I love it.
Yeah,
We have Stuart Stevens
Democrats
back with
learning.
us. Stu, are you back? Can you hear us?
Yes. Yeah, I can't tell.
Okay, I'm going to give you the opportunity to answer since we lost you to technical difficulties earlier. What did you think about the Biden administration putting out an ad, not an ad, it's a video, there's a difference. The video hitting back at Trump while he was giving that speech.
Yeah, they should do it. They should do it every day. There's absolutely no reason not to be punching back. It's sort of beneath the dignity of the White House briefing podium to do this. And you don't need to when you can do it on social media.
Right.
So I think it's fantastic, and I hope that they keep it up.
Yeah, they got to be
Joe,
relentless.
you're the Democrat. We complain all the time that Democrats are too busy, writing their policy papers, and we're like, come on, guys. I think they're getting it, starting to.
I think that is a lesson that got learned in 2022. That the Republicans, Fox, everybody demonizes Democrats. They demonize the brand of the Democratic Party, right. And the Democratic Party we never fight back that way, and so what we learned is by getting to democracy, like Biden got to it. And of course, took a lot of hits. A lot of people said, "Oh, wait, you're wasting your time. Why are you doing that?" But I think we've learned. I think a lot of Americans, and we know that from the results, get that democracy really is threatened out there, and that it's the extremism, it's the Trumpism, it's that extremism. I think they've got to be relentless about that. And I think we've, as Democrats, I think a lot of people have learned that lesson. I think that spot shows that. But we've got to be relentless, and we got to keep repeating it, which is another thing Democrats don't do. The Republicans repeat. It's like totally top-down discipline, almost mindless repetition. We don't do that on our side. And and the pro-democracy coalition desperately has to learn that lesson, all of us, to do it that way, to repeat it, be relentless, and take it to them.
Yeah, we've been preaching that.
A perfect example of that is in the 2004 reelect for Bush. That all of us worked on except for you, Joe. But
I was on
if
the
you
other
go
side
back
of
and
that
you look at that,
where were you then, Joe?
Kerry would respond to whatever was in the news cycle, which is not crazy. They would try to surf that news cycle. George Bush.
They tried to windsurf that news cycle.
Well, they tried to.
Nice read. Nice.
A hat tip to my partner Russ, who saw that and stayed up all night making that ad. But George Bush, he'd fly in, he'd get off with a helicopter or Air Force One, say there's a lot of terrorists out there, we ought to kill some before they kill us, and he'd get back on the plane and he'd leave, and that was it. I mean, day after day after day.
That's right.
And some reason to believe it worked.
I don't say this enough. I think that we were on opposite sides through a lot of those battles. But that's why I'm with you guys now. We've got to build. This is all about the Resolute Square. Everything is about building a pro-democracy communications hub.
Right.
To come together, Democrats, independents, everybody, forget.
So that we can have that, right? So we can have that unified message that you were talking about, because the other side, the right-wing media ecosystem, has been building that and has those tentacles where they can just press a button and everybody's on the same talking points all across from Fox News down to the crazy websites. They're all on message, and there has to be something that counters that, which is why we're doing what we're doing.
Right.
Go ahead.
And if I might, Tara, before we get to DeSantis,
yes.
I mean, just 2.5 years ago, I was in New Hampshire right before the primary there, and the Civic Center there in Manchester was having a Trump rally. And to your point about the show, right? There's vendors and flags and rock and roll and the whole thing, right? It's like a swim meet on acid. But I went and I talked to folks, in the line, and whether or not it was an older couple, a family, kids who'd come over from Vermont, it was like their facts, right? Of like, here are the talking points for the day. And it was both astonishing and frightening, like how on message all of them were.
Yep. And it's
right?
still,
and I don't know where they
like
came from. They might have all gotten it from different places. The point was Every one of them said the same thing. Why should Donald Trump be president? Boom, boom, boom,
That's
boom, boom,
exactly
boom.
right. And I agree. I think it's probably more like a swamp meet than a swim meet. But go ahead, Stu. And then we're going to switch over to talk about DeSantis.
Yeah, before we talk about DeSantis, just let me say one thing that I think it's worth saying. It's all in defense of Democrats here. It is much easier to deliver a message that is unified when your audience is as homogeneous as the Republican audience.
Right.
You know, think about it as putting on a concert. Republicans, they got one audience, right? This is what. So Democrats, they got people like all kinds of different music. So how do you, you're going to have jazz, you're going to have country and western, you're going to have rap, you're going to have. It's a lot harder.
But the same is true for authoritarian. I mean, authoritarian, it's all communication top down. Dear leader says this is what we're saying, we say it. So and the Democratic Party's not like that. Not the pro-democracy movement. It's not going to do that.
If you look at Twitter right now, they're all on message.
Yeah.
Right. That's right.
From the trolls to the blue checks.
That's exactly right. Well, who's not on message is Ron DeSantis. But the one last thing on the Democrats, something else they're doing, which they have not done in the past, is they are actually investing in putting people on the ground in early primary states like New Hampshire and Iowa. Now, this is the earliest the DNC, Joe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that the DNC has put boots on the ground for the presidential in those two key states. So I think they're finally starting to get the memo. DeSantis, Ron DeSantis is getting a memo. He's getting a memo thinking that he's going to be the next president of the United States. It's clear that he's starting to feel himself a little bit, and he's got people all around him boosting his head that he could take on Trump. And I know all of you have a very different perspective on whether this is a good play for DeSantis or not. I want to play this super PAC ad. This is coming from backers of DeSantis that are pushing, trying to nudge him into this race. This is what was released today, I believe, in Iowa.
A new lockdown has been triggered for 33 million people, implementing the nation's toughest restrictions.
The Labor Department says inflation is at a 40-year high.
Violent crime is way up, a rate we haven't seen in decades.
Gas prices soaring to the highest average ever recorded.
Lockdowns, rampant inflation, rising crime, soaring gas prices. A nation on the brink.
Florida was a refuge of sanity when the world went mad. We stood as a citadel of freedom for people across this country and indeed across the world.
While our nation struggled, Florida thrived.
1,000 people move to Florida every day.
Southwest Florida is ranking all the way at the top of a list of the best inexpensive places to live.
Doesn't America deserve the same? To defeat Biden and restore our country, America needs leadership. We need Ron DeSantis. Ron to the rescue, paid for and is responsible for the content of this ad.
Stu, I know you have strong feelings about this.
Yeah, I really do. You know, what DeSantis is doing is basically what Michael Dukakis did. I can do for America what I did for Massachusetts. And I think that is, you know, I can do for America what I did for Florida. I think that's an absolutely disastrous strategy. How hard is it to go to Florida and find a lot of problems? And now Ron DeSantis is saying those are on him because, you know, if everything good is his, everything bad as well. So look at what the Bush campaign was able to do to Michael Dukakis. From Boston Harbor to, yes, raising issues about the pardon plan. Compared to what,
the tank.
Yes,
the tank.
Compared to what Bill Clinton did when he ran. He said there is no Arkansas miracle. There are just a bunch of people in Arkansas who are really trying to do better. So he inoculated against it because, I mean, Arkansas, well, God knows the rest of the country mostly doesn't want to be like Arkansas, which is something those of us from Mississippi take great pride in. But
no offense to Arkansas now.
I don't think this is a vanity spot. This is the kind of thing that if you're a consultant, you make because your client likes it. Mm-hmm. And it is strategically disastrous. And you can imagine what Donald Trump can do to this sort of Florida is perfect campaign that DeSantis has decided to run.
Before you jump in, Joe, wait, before you jump in, Stu,
I would have fixed if I were governor.
Yeah, exactly. Stu, can you explain why, though? Why is this disastrous for DeSantis? Because I think people would say, well, you know, This is they're starting early. He's getting a jump on it. Why do you feel that it's so disastrous for DeSantis at this point?
When you say that you want to make America, you want to do for America what you did for Florida. Okay, fly to Miami, get off, take a camera. How long is it going to take you to find some terrible things that are happening in Miami? How long is it going to take you
to go to North Florida and find the highest concentration of white supremacist groups in the world in North Florida? In the 15 counties to the east of me, there are a couple of thousand unashamed Klansmen running around.
How many minutes, nanoseconds is it till the meme starts rolling all over social media of Ron in white boots with Ron to the rescue,
right?
Being the theme that's rolling around.
And then just one thing, just in the ad itself, it says housing prices so affordable in South Florida. If your house wasn't destroyed by a hurricane 6 weeks ago. If you can get insurance for it, which is now nearly impossible in Florida because DeSantis let the insurance industry basically flee without any backup plans. So
he was so busy doing fucking Disney and doing critical race theory that he didn't do a legislative session to fix property insurance in the state. So people are paying 2, 3, 4, 10 times more than they were before. And
that's been an ongoing problem in Florida. My family lived in Florida for a long time. So
it's also a state where the weirdness is funny, sometimes, but it's also horrible sometimes.
Yeah.
And Florida is a state full of broken systems, terrible government systems, bad health care, bad mental health care, bad prisons, bad everything. And guess what? This idea that it's going to be the version of Florida where you can roll your eyes about it. As I like to say, it's the naked guy running down the street with his pet alligator on one shoulder being chased by his common law wife because their trailer blew up in a meth fire. That's the part. There's some really terrible dark
you call that Tuesday. You call that Tuesday.
Hey guys, let me ask you a question though. Do you think when he did that Ron to the rescue thing, is that, I mean, I understand what they're saying vis-a-vis Biden and all that, but is there another message there? Ron, rescue the Republican Party from Trump. I mean, is there some? Do you buy that at all? Or
I don't think they're that clever.
I don't think they're that smart. I think
in fact, they are watching this, Joe, and now writing that down. So
one of the greatest mistakes in politics is to go for a murder conviction when all you need to do was manslaughter. You overcharge. DeSantis didn't have to do this. All he had to do was say, look, I've done my best in Florida. We've done some good things. There's still a lot of problems, but I know how to lead us here, and I can help lead America. That's it. He doesn't have to say, this is like, the pinnacle of what America wants to be. Because,
but he kept gas prices low in Florida. There was no inflation down there.
Right. I was in Florida.
Nobody died of COVID.
Right. I was in Florida last year.
We didn't have 80,000 people die of, and that's going to be. So there is this talk right now in the right wing media circles that, and a few of these guys are writing these op-eds now saying Trump is unacceptable because he did COVID lockdowns. DeSantis never did. Well, I have a suspicion that even Trump could turn that one around on him and say, you had 80,000 deaths in your state. I was sensible. We did warp speed. You're just reckless. You had 80,000 deaths.
And then somebody could turn around and say, and you had, 700,000. Well, it wasn't under a million under his watch. It was eventually a million because they villainized being, smart and getting vaccines. So, well, guys,
look, I think though that Trump is just going to go at him more personally.
Yes.
And pick apart the little shit.
Of course.
You tried to stop critical race theory, but every judge says that you failed. I would have succeeded. I know how to do it.
Listen,
and again,
Rick,
this is the beauty of not having to worry about telling the truth for Trump.
Right.
Well, that's the difference, right? Because we know that Trump has no boundaries. He doesn't play fair, and if the other campaigns try to operate in that, they're going to get run over. But Stu, I'll give you the final last word here.
I would predict that the best day in the Ron DeSantis campaign will be the day he announces, and from that, it's all downhill.
Well, you heard it here first. You heard it here first, guys.
That you're a superstar. Be modest about it and say that we're going to do our best and see what happens. Instead of Ron DeSantis is 12 feet tall and made of solid titanium.
Well, you guys heard it here first, and be on the lookout, because Stu Stevens, Rick Wilson, Reed Galen, Joe Trippi, all believe that the best day of Ron DeSantis' campaign will be day one. All right. Well, we have a year and a half, 2 years of this to go. But if you want to subscribe and have more access to the strategist and the strategy call, go to resolutesquare.com and subscribe. And we will be with you all again next Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, and we'll see you on Tuesday.
See you guys.
Bye, y'all.
Thanks, everybody.
They've been winning for years.
I'm very proud of them.
Decades. The right-wing media machine. They play by different rules. Alternative facts become America's reality. They lie for money, for power. They lie because they know they can get away with it. Ready to fight back? We took on Trump and defeated him. Now we need to take on the MAGA media. We need a powerful media voice dedicated to crushing the enemies of democracy. And now it's here. Resolute Square. Resolute Square is a growing community of creators, thinkers, strategists, and activists with one mission: to defend democracy. We're not a news organization. The old media models are failing. Resolute Square refuses to tell both sides of a lie. We proudly declare a fierce, relentless bias for democracy. All bias, all the time. We're not here to debate the people who will destroy democracy. We know we're right, and they are wrong. We are here to win. This is what we believe. We must take the fight beyond the ballot box to where the autocrats are winning, the media landscape of America. At Resolute Square, we will get up every morning to defeat the dangerous MAGA media. We will speak truth to their lies. We're not billionaire extremists. We're Americans, and we will fight. If we join together, we will win. We will not let a corrupt minority steal what it means to be an American. We will fight for the heart and soul of this country. We can do this. We must do this. Together. Resolute Square. Join us.